things like that. How do you keep it tight? But I'm glad that if this is the case, that they did get one of these culprits. Burbank, thanks a lot, man, for joining me on another Monday. We'll make sure we tighten this up for next time. I've been in a horrible mood today, so that was the first problem. Thanks for being here with us.
Get here, the plane. The Republicans who control the weather didn't let my plane land. Anyway, next time we'll be here. We'll keep it tight. It'll be great.
Oh, we're good. We'll catch you guys for sure the next time around. Appreciate you, Burbank. Up next, you have the Young Turks. Go check them out. We'll see you guys next time.
welcome to the Young Turks. I'm Ben Glebe, and we have quite the show for you today. I am joined by the host of Fair and Balanced, Farron Cousins, and the host at TYT's Rebel HQ, the fantastic Ray Vana, is with us today. Hello, both of you.
Great to be here.
Great to be here with you. It's been a minute.
It has indeed. It's good to be together again. Looks like Trump might be closer to going down. I think that's a cause for celebration myself. So why don't we get right into it? We have got our first story, and it is quite shocking, the words that come out of a former Trump sycophant. Let's roll it.
I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous.
He has always looked like toast, and now he might be toast following Donald Trump's, oh, no big deal, 37-count indictment last week. His former lackey, Attorney General William Barr, spoke out yet again against Trump on Fox News, no less, saying that the government's classified documents case against him is strong and clearly concerning. As for the crimes in question, the Orange Monster faced 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information, a crime delineated in the Espionage Act that carries a maximum prison sentence of 10 years. Each count represents a different highly sensitive document that Trump allegedly kept at Mar-a-Lago, his Florida residence and private club. 21 of those documents, including some involving nuclear secrets, were found by FBI agents who searched the estate in August, yielding a total of 102 classified documents, according to the indictment. The other 10 willful retention charges stem from a batch of 38 classified documents turned over to the FBI last June in response to a grand jury subpoena. Despite Trump's insistence, Barr argued that the documents Trump had in his possession were in no way his personal belongings. Listen to this.
He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong that he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has. They have to be in the custody of the archivist. He had no right to maintain them and retain them. And he kept them in a way at Mar-a-Lago that anyone who really cares about national security, their stomach would churn at it. This entire thing came about because of reckless conduct of the president. If he had just turned over the documents, which I think every other person in the country would have done, they're the government's documents. They're official records. They're not his personal records. Battle plans for an attack on another country or Defense Department documents about our capabilities are in no universe Donald J. Trump's personal documents.
Oh, just battle plans and highly sensitive information about our capabilities militarily. That's all. Of course, right-wingers love to ignore plain evidence and just as much love to draw a false equivalency between documents that Joe Biden and Mike Pence, for example, had in their possession. But Barr also poured cold water on that comeback as well. Take a look.
There are two big lies, I think, that are out there right now. One is, oh, these other presidents took all these documents. Those were situations where they arranged with the archives to set up special space under the management, control, and security provided by the archivist to temporarily put documents until the libraries were ready. These were not people just putting them in their basement, okay? And the second thing that the president, this idea that the president has complete authority to declare any document personal is obvious. It's facially ridiculous.
Facially ridiculous, a perfect description of Donald Trump. Wow, so it turns out the other documents were arranged in advance, which seems normal and not a problem. Also important fact, those other dudes didn't resist at all when asked to hand the documents back over to the government. The Orange Menace, on the other hand, is facing multiple accusations of trying to obstruct justice. Those allegations include moving boxes out of a storage room, telling an attorney to search that room for classified material without saying that dozens of boxes are being kept elsewhere, putting on literally a wild goose chase, suggesting an attorney hide or destroy documents that had been subpoenaed, and causing another person to make false statements about whether all the classified documents had been produced. Trumpy was not happy that his former AG called him out, writing on Truth Social, virtually everyone is saying the indictment is about election interference. Nobody is saying that. And should not have been brought, except Bill Barr, a quote, for no reason, quote, disgruntled former employee and lazy attorney general who was weak and totally ineffective, okay? It doesn't mean what he's saying. It's just misinformation. No space. Barr's doing it because he hates, quote, Trump, why his own name would be in quotes, nobody understands, for firing him. He was deathly afraid of the radical left when they said they would impeach him. He knows the indictment is BS. Turn off Fox News when that, quote, gutless pig is on. His random use of quotes is one of the most disturbing things if it weren't for the constant treason and espionage that he is also, in my estimation, clearly guilty of. But despite all of that, of course, because the brains on the right are so broken, it's beyond understanding and comprehension of any rational mind. Guess who Barr said he plans to vote for? Claiming that neither Trump nor Joe Biden are fit for office, even though, of course, there's no evidence he's presented of Biden not being fit for office. Barr said he would nevertheless go for Trump should 2024 turn out to be another matchup between the two men. So let's pause right here and discuss the insanity that is all of this. I just can't get over that he says it's not at all right. It's insane. This is espionage act. He's toast, but I will still vote for him. Farron?
The whole Trump insult thing there, I have to say, part of me, actually all of me, like Bill Barr deserves every second of that. I mean, the horrible things that Bill Barr did while Attorney General, running interference, for the Mueller report, basically exonerating Trump when the report said the exact opposite. Like, this guy deserves everything that Trump is throwing at him right now, with the exception of the insults, of course, about his weight. But other than that, Bill Barr's also right about how serious this is for Donald Trump. He does understand the law, regardless of what he did during the Trump administration. He understands how these things work. He knows how bad this is, but it just shows you at the end of all of it, how none of it really matters to most of the folks on the right. Because Bill Barr can sit there and be like, this is horrendous. Oh my God, this guy's basically committing treason against the United States. And let me go grab my MAGA hat because I'm totally voting for him in 2024. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters to most of these people. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, because you can make a great legal case, but then when you turn around and say, I'm still in this guy's corner, then nothing matters at that point.
100%, and I would even slightly disagree with you saying that he doesn't deserve the comments about his weight, only because when you sign up to work for Donald Trump, this person insults people based on their appearance. You're signing up for that. You're signing up to go and die on the sword of a man who will insult your appearance, who will insult everything about you if you show 1 ounce of honesty / disloyalty to him. Ray?
I think that you guys and Bill Barr are being a little bit unfair to Donald Trump, because who amongst us doesn't sit in our bathroom and leaf through, tactical plans for an invasion of Iran by the light of the chandelier? That's something we can all relate to. That being said, Bill Barr is a fake friend. That's really what I took away from this. And Farron is absolutely correct that, Bill Barr is someone who stood at the defense of Donald Trump. He was a part of the Trump administration. And really the only reason that we see him insulting Trump in this, or going against him on the news, is because he's fallen out of the good graces of Trump. And that's probably why at the end he slips in, in interviews he slips in, yeah, I'll vote for the guy again. I think that he's a danger to America and that he should probably be prosecuted. But I'll also vote for the guy again because, of course, he wants to be back at that inner circle. He's lost, the ability to have and wield political power within Republican circles, and he needs to get back in Trump's graces to do it. But at the same time, he sort of got this little niche for himself in the media to, go against Trump, be the guy from the administration who can speak against Trump. So, at the end of the day, that's, he's just a fake friend.
And it's the same Bill Barr that stood by Trump when Trump tear gassed American citizens so we could hold a Bible upside down. It's the same Bill Barr that testified against Trump during the Jan 6 hearings and said this is unconscionable, unbelievable behavior, but still, he's still my guy in 2024. It is very wild. And while Bill Barr still seems to have some hope for Trump to have come to Jesus and grow a conscience and still be his candidate, there's somebody maybe even more impactful in Republican politics that is standing in Trump's corner, at least offering him some words of wisdom. Let's take this video, please.
I'm gonna share some advice that I got from some of the greatest legal minds of our generation, of my lifetime. F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, Johnny Cochran, Bob Shapiro, the great Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld, Malcolm Laverne here in Vegas. The one thing they all told me and stressed to me, do not talk about the case publicly. Do not do interviews about the case. The Bakers threatened to quit if I did that. My point is, I don't know if Donald's lawyers are stressing this to him. If they're not, they should be fired and he should sue them.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a problem for the Orange Menace, who has not stopped yelling and whining about this case on Truth Social since the moment he was indicted. And obviously it won't stop at any point. But with friends like OJ, who needs friends is how I like to look at it. Wild. Any last thoughts on this, Farron?
Yeah, I mean, OJ's sitting there like, hey, listen, I've talked to the great legal minds and they say this. Listen, Trump's been told this by the judges. Trump has been told that by his lawyers. Why do you think that he's calling around every lawyer he can find on Google in Miami today? Because nobody wants to do it. No lawyer wants to take on a client that is not going to listen to their solid legal advice. So I find it kind of funny that he's like, hey, has anybody thought to tell Trump to just shut up? Yeah, the whole country's been telling the man to shut up for 5 years or longer, and he's not gonna listen. So appreciate the advice, man, but we've literally all tried it and it hasn't ever worked.
I really enjoyed the line where OJ said, one of the greatest legal minds, Alan Dershowitz. That might be the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. And of course, like Farron said, his advice is correct. Trump should shut the hell up. But he's bleeding attorneys last week on Thursday night, he had 2 attorneys defending him on CNN. By Friday morning, they had both quit. Within hours of defending him on CNN, they had quit because he is someone who's impossible to represent. And as someone who just graduated law school and is looking forward to practicing, that would be the biggest nightmare client. Someone, and obviously no attorney wants to represent someone who won't listen to them.
Yep, the only people who do have a hard time quitting Trump is almost all Republicans in this country. Other than that, it's very hard for him to find any loyalty. Luckily, he's got the loyalty he needs. God help us all. Whew. All right, moving on to our next story. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, I think we should take a break. I think we should take a little break. That was such I think we need a cleanse after that. Let's take a moment to breathe in. We will be right back very shortly with more TYT. Welcome back to the Young Turks, everybody. Thank you all for being with us and listening. We've got some viewer comments. I'd like to read them to you right now. We've got Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, saying, hell of a lineup. Can't disagree. Art Guy, well, that looks like a power panel to me. Do not disagree with that either. We've got Vicky saying, fair, and I check your channel for new content every time I leave my house, unless it's TYT time. You got the mornings. Love you, Ben and Ray. Good to see you filling in for Nina Ray. Someone's really following all the moves. I love that very much. Mark Goggins said, it's amazing how everyone Trump fired is incompetent, according to the man that hired them. Yes, he's the guy who said, only the best people work for me, only the best people. And then as soon as they're terrible, an incompetent, lazy pig, and I have no responsibility for it. It's quite wild. If you ask me. Ginny B says all these people who enabled this behavior previously and helped create the ridiculousness that is Trump now trying to push the cat back in the bag is as hilarious, as sad as it is. They should have been pushing back years ago. 100p on that. On Twitch, we have Fiddlin' Nero saying Trump is a victim of his own narcissism. Facts right there. And Mayhem Mendez says, I don't know any person or company with more disgruntled former employees than Trump. And Yeatwood Mac saying, OMG, can Trump please hire OJ as legal counsel? I would pay money to see that. I would pay good money to see that. I wouldn't even share a password. I'd buy passwords for the whole family. And we've got new members here in the comments on YouTube saying from Biohazard Dragon, great panel today. Woohoo, woohoo, right back at you. Vincent Morales, great show Saturday, Ben, and happy birthday again. Thank you. That was my Glebe Off the Top anniversary show and birthday show. My birthday's coming up in a week or on Sunday, whatever, you know how that goes, whatever. Thank you very much for that. And Brent Voss, what an incredible lineup. It must be my lucky day. How kind of you to say that. And we do have a super chat comment from Dystopian Dragon. Thank you so much for the super chat saying Donald Trump has the right to remain silent, but not the ability to STFU. Let me ask this viewer break. This is not broadcast. Am I allowed to read what STFU stands for? Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I'm being told aggressively by the producers not to do that. Thumbs down, but you know what STFU for? Shut the f up. You understand what I'm saying? I think you do. I think you get it. Ray, Farron, any thoughts? We have about 20 seconds.
I like the last comment, and I enjoyed watching the producers. I enjoyed watching Ash motion vigorously to tell you not to swear. She was telling you to STFU.
She was indeed. She was indeed. And it's hard to get me to do that, but I have such respect for Aish that I oblige. And we'll be right back. The only thing Republicans love more than guns is taunting people with their guns. Take a look at this.
I have a message tonight for Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden. And the guys back there in the fake news media, you should listen up as well. This one's for you. If you want to get to President Trump, you're gonna have to go through me, and you're gonna have to go through 75 million Americans just like me. And I'm gonna tell you, yep, most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA. That's not a threat, that's a public service announcement.
How self-satisfied she is. That's not a threat, it's a public service announcement, meaning it's a threat, but I legally have to say it's not a threat, even though I did just threaten you with my gun and the gun of 75 million people. That's right, over the weekend, Kari Lake made it very clear that Trump supporters should come armed to protest his indictment. She's not the only one. Even after Donald Trump got indicted for a second time last week, this time federally, 37 counts just to remind you, his support among the MAGA base is unwavering, some even calling for civil war. Stay tuned for that, Jim, but I'd like to also just point out here before we continue in this story that the false bravado that these complete jokes of people, these complete jokes of fake leaders that are just there for attention and fame they don't even have any sort of substance behind what they say. You're gonna have to come through me to get to Donald Trump. Really? You don't think he's gonna be showing up to that courthouse Tuesday? Is Kerry Lake gonna be standing in the middle? Is there gonna be 75 million people or even one person in the way? He's gonna be escorted right in. He's gonna be fingerprinted, mugshot, and let right out. And while some don't give a damn about whether or not he's convicted for espionage under federal law, others are saying Trump is infallible and should not even have any opposition campaigns while facing indictment. They don't even want a backup plan. After facing indictment for a large amount of crimes, still they say he should be our only man, our only bet. Let's start with human dolphin fetus Charlie Kirk. The right-wing chud is calling for solidarity for Trump by asking all 2024 candidates to drop out of the race, writing, every Republican, quote unquote, running for president should suspend their campaign and go to Miami as a show of support. If you don't, you are part of the problem. Either we have an opposition party or we don't. Go to Miami Tuesday and show solidarity, or we will mark you as part of the opposition. None of these dudes can even spell. And while Kirk's call might seem crazy, it does speak directly to the MAGA base whose support for Trump is not at all affected by the new indictment. A new poll, not surprisingly, finds, according to The Hill, 80% of likely GOP voters think Trump should still be able to be president if convicted on federal espionage charges. Do you understand the level of idiocy banging around in these people's brains, if you can call them brains? I call it styrofoam empty space. More from the poll. The CBS News YouGov poll found just 12% of GOP primary voters said they're more concerned the documents were a national security risk, compared to 76% who said they're more concerned the indictment against Trump was politically motivated. 61% in that group also said the indictment, quote, won't change their view of the former president. Well, I guess once you've sunk to a place real low, once we're in that sunken place, no teacup spinning around is gonna pull you out of it. In fact, check this. Trump polled at the top of a hypothetical Republican field, leading with 61% who say they'll vote for him. In second place was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis with 23%. So that is where we're at. Farron, how does this all hit you?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm actually gonna stand in solidarity also with Charlie Kirk, and I want all other Republicans to drop out of the race right now. It should only be Trump. I mean, he's already got it on lockdown anyway, so y'all really aren't losing anything by dropping out right now. But what should be happening with these Republicans is they should be sending Jack Smith gift baskets, right? They should be behind closed doors, popping champagne corks, because he may be doing their dirty work for them. When you break out of those, Republican only polls, and we look at the polls that actually include the moderate voters, the independent voters, majority of those folks do not want Donald Trump to run for president again. Majority do not want him to be president again. Majority believe that he should be convicted. So most people in this country do not want Trump again. And if Jack Smith succeeds in actually having a successful prosecution and conviction of Trump, he just did them all a massive favor by taking away that giant liability from the Republican ticket. I mean, Republicans in the Senate are already sweating what's gonna happen if Trump's at the top of the ticket, how that's gonna affect their chances to take back the Senate. Same thing in the House. They know how toxic he is. So again, they should be thanking Jack Smith. Obviously, they can't do it publicly, but maybe a couple gift baskets here and there, a gift card to Cracker Barrel, whatever it is that they hate this week. That's what they should do, because he is helping them more than anything else they could imagine. But they don't want to accept it. They just want to say, oh, you're investigating Trump? Good, we're gonna kill you. That's where they're at. But Smith is actually doing them a massive favor if he can get Trump off their ticket.
And they only can't do it publicly because they are enormous cowards. Ray Vanna, weigh in, please.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to Carrie Lake, because I learned something today that I didn't learn in law school, which is you can threaten the life of the Attorney General of the United States as long as after it you say it wasn't a threat. And then they can't do anything to you. It negates
the president. And the
president. I will say, I think it's really funny, and it's not just Carrie Lake, it's all conservatives, especially the ones in media, who will hold up like Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden as like the enemy. And in my mind, these are pretty feckless individuals. Merrick Garland was, a compromise to try to get him through the Senate to be confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice, not someone who's, been shown any sort of industry to take on tough issues. I mean, we've seen a massive rise in hate crimes, but his Justice Department hasn't actually gone after hate crime perpetrators at the same level that they've been increasing. Joe Biden is a sundowning man, so there's that. Charlie Kirk's statement, I think, is a fine suggestion with me, honestly. I'd rather Trump be the nominee than DeSantis. So if they all want to drop out, although Ann Coulter had an even better suggestion. I'm not going to repeat it. I'll let everybody look that up on their own. It was a real case of the worst person just says something you agree with.
Oh, well, now I'm very curious. My goodness, can you summarize it?
She said something a little more serious than the rest of the candidates, just suspending their campaign, potentially suspending everything.
Yeah, moving on from this life to the next, basically.
That's really sweet of her. That is very, very sweet of her. I mean, it just not only speaks to the moral ineptitude of these people, but the political ineptitude. As you perfectly put it also, Farron, is any of these candidates, if DeSantis said, look, this is a bridge too far. We don't want the weaponization of government, but seeing these charges, if it's true, he could just say, if it's true, if it's proven to be true, this man literally is guilty of hiding and refusing to return classified documents. That is not a government conspiracy. We can still root out weaponization of government, use his own talking point, but not in the case of someone willfully committing espionage, willfully withholding documents. And they won't even do it politically. It's just they would so much rather just take on the opposition in absurd, comical, clownish ways. And it gets worse. With the calls for violence, it actually gets frighteningly worse, especially when we look at the number of Americans who are totally fine with using violence to put Trump back into the White House. Look at this headline: disturbing. 12 million US adults think violence is justified to put Trump back in White House. Quote, we're heading into an extremely tumultuous election season, said one expert. What's happening in the United States is political violence is going from the fringe to the mainstream. And they're not kidding. Trump supporters are already calling for civil war after news of his indictment. Quote from a user on the Donald, according to Vice News, quote, perhaps it's time for that civil war that the damn Demo KKK rats have been trying to start for years now, right? We've been trying to start a civil war on the Democratic side. Of course we have, right? By trying to be inclusive of everybody. And the threats get scarier as they get more specific, of course. In one post on the Donald titled, a little bit about Merrick Garland, his wife, his daughters, a user shared a link to an article about the Attorney General's children. Under the post, another user replied, his children are fair game as far as I'm concerned. In another post about the special counsel conducting the probe, one user on the Donald wrote, Jack Smith should be arrested the minute he steps foot in the red state of Florida. So there's that. Farron, any thoughts?
I think back to when Republicans took back over the House at the beginning of this year, and they told us repeatedly, like, we're gonna get Biden, we're gonna get Hunter Biden, we're investigating all of them. And the response from the Democratic side was, all right, Do your investigations. I mean, whatever, like, we don't care. And then with Trump, it's like, hey, we gotta indict this guy because we've got so much crazy evidence. And they're like, okay, cool, we're just gonna kill you. Like, we're just gonna load up our guns and we're gonna do these horrific things. So, that's how we are. But the contrast could not be more stark between the two parties, especially on this particular issue. But I would also, just want to say, we look at these things, we see these posts on the Donald, and Vice, that story did a phenomenal job of laying it all out there. And we would really love to think, or at least I would, that these are nothing more than a bunch of keyboard warriors talking tough online, but in reality, they're not gonna do anything. But we can't even assume that anymore. Because of January 6th and because of all of the violence that we've seen from these people in other instances, we have to take every single threat they lob online seriously. We have to act like this is not a threat, it is a promise. And I hope that the law enforcement down in South Florida is doing that. There are reports that they're trying to beef it up, they're trying to figure it out, but I don't know if they are treating it as the threat that it should be treated. These people posting these things shouldn't just, we shouldn't just be on the lookout for them. The cops should have already been knocking on their doors this morning is what should have happened, but it didn't.
100%, Ray.
Yeah, I think one thing about this that's really ironic is if you ask those 12 million, Jesus Christ, just saying that number is depressing. If you ask those 12 million Americans who want to use violence to install Donald Trump as the president, or if you ask those people who are posting on the Donald about, who are like threatening the lives of Merrick Garland's daughters and wife, were saying that Jack Smith should be arrested if he touches a toe in Florida. If you ask them if they think that they're defending democracy, I promise you they would say yes. I promise you they would say that this is democratic, that we need, that this is how we protect democracy, is by overthrowing a democratically elected president and installing our God, King, Emperor, dictator Donald Trump.
The very definition of democracy, violently installing a dictator. Anybody can look it up. Everyone's got access to the dictionary, just like we do. Although I do think there's an argument for arresting just anyone generally for stepping foot into Florida. I think that's a decent argument. And I say that realizing I'm risking my own freedom because I did just have a great time in Miami recently. If Miami weren't so damn fun, if South Beach weren't so damn fun, I'd be down with cutting the whole state off and letting it float off into the ocean. But they always have one fun city in the middle of these horrible repressive states that just lets them hang on by a thread and remain ones we want to keep in the country. Trump, of course, is scheduled to appear at 3 p.m. tomorrow, this Tuesday, at the Florida Southern District Courthouse in downtown Miami, where he will be formally charged. We're going to Miami, my friends. And Kari Lake is not the only one who is going to be there. Only one who's going to be there. Many of Trump's violent supporters are already planning protests. Quote, who's coming with me on Tuesday? I'll be the one in the F around and find out armor. Easy to find, KEK on the back collar. One member of the Donald wrote on Friday, quote, I will be there peacefully to speak up about this misjustice. Legally, I will also be armed, well armed. The Christian conservative group Florida Republican Assembly said they chartered 4 buses to bring Trump fans from all corners of the state to Miami. And if you ask yourself why they're always being chartered in buses, none of these people drive or have cars. Buses is their preferred way to get around. Let somebody else drive them to the protests. They're well armed. They're licensed to carry a weapon, just not licensed to operate a vehicle. My goodness. Our next story. Oh wait, actually, there's more on this story. Holy hell. I thought there couldn't be any more, but there is. Take a look, for example, at this flyer, this advertisement that Vice News uncovered of the Florida Republican Assembly.com. Get involved in the FRA family. America First Freedom Road Trip. MAGA Trump flag and sign waving rally. How exciting for them. Show your support for President Donald J. Trump with his weird crooked thumbs. Only 4 buses available. RSVP via chapter president. Bring snacks. Like that's what they need. 10 a.m. the buses depart from the Walmart. Of course, that's where they depart. They gotta depart from a Walmart, and at 9:30, the bus arrives back at the Walmart before closing time so they can get their Walmart shopping in. It does not help that far-right talking heads are also supporting these calls. Laura Loomer, far-right activist and failed congressional candidate in Florida, also organized what she called a, quote, peaceful rally to protest the weaponization of government on Tuesday outside the courthouse. We are in trouble, but the good news is there's a discount on bullets at Walmart. I don't know what's happening. There's always some hope left, at least with getting discounts on summer slip and slides. So there's always a silver lining. Wild.
I want to say, I think if you put into an AI prompt, give me the most stereotypical Republican, redneck thing, it would come up with that little flyer that you just mentioned, because that is like every Republican buzzword, every Republican stereotype in one thing in that little flyer there. It's unbelievable how little self-awareness any of these people have. It's hilarious, actually.
Would it be possible to pull that flyer up again? Because if you look at the acronym on it, if you were to read it out loud, it would be a fart.
The good AFFRT organization, join us for a fart to support President Trump. And really one of their stronger acronyms thus far. Good luck, you guys. I hope you're able to stop Trump from getting into that courthouse. My money's on not. Our next story. Do we have time for next story? Are we going to a break? Are we going to a break? I don't know what the thumbs up means. Go to a break or do another story. Thumbs up if you want me to go to a break. We're not. We're going to the next story. Here we go. This is very exciting. If you're a female out there and wanting Charlie Kirk to tell you what to do with your life, you had a great opportunity this last weekend. Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit was very exciting. And if we can pull up the first graphic, let me tell you about it. According to Madeline Peltz at Media Matters, Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit targets college and high school age girls. Speaker after speaker emphasized the audience that they should become wives, mothers, and accessories to the astroturfed conservative movement rather than pursuing a demanding career. These themes were nearly identical to last year's YWLS or YOWULS. Yet this conference exists because of the labor of women on the right who clearly value their careers. Speakers like TPUSA influencer Alex Clark, Fox host Laura Ingraham, the Daily Wire's Candace Owens, covertly and overtly discourage the audience of young women from pursuing high-powered careers, like the ones they have. But it takes a lot of work to build an audience as a woman in right-wing media, of course. Behind the scenes, Turning Point USA's events and marketing leadership are also populated by women. Chief Marketing Officer Marina Mina's biography says nothing of her achievements in the domestic realm, strangely. The same goes for the Vice President of Events, Lauren Tonchich. But that wasn't the only contradiction this absurd event had on display. There was apparently also, brace yourself, a pride flag. No! The writer of this story shared, much to my surprise, the first thing I saw when I pulled up to the venue was a massive pride flag. In his opening speech, TPUSA founder Charlie Kirk described his unsuccessful efforts to have the flag taken down. Quote, "I tried my best to take down the flag, everybody," he said. The crowd responded with cheers. "I failed, okay? I'm sorry, I tried my best. I know you were all thinking it, right? What is that all about? By the way, this hotel better do something or we're gonna find another hotel because I'm not gonna come back. This is ridiculous." The ridiculousness is just a flag making the LGBTQ community feel welcomed in this world. It's ridiculous, according to Charlie Kirk. The conference featured an exhibition hall with booths selling dump your liberal boyfriend sweatshirts from a right-wing dating app founded by a former Trump White House staffer, I can only assume is single, career recruitment for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Faith, and bedazzled purses shaped like guns. Don't believe me? Take a look at this here image. This is not at all insane. It's totally normal bunch of images, purses that can clearly hold almost nothing, shaped like guns. How exciting that is. Alex Clark, the host and face of this event and host of TPUSA's Young Woman Focused podcasts, had a totally normal, not at all unhinged intro to this event as well. Look at this footage.
Oh my gosh. Young Women's Leadership Summit, are you ready to see this degenerate, rotten culture that we've been living in get a makeover? Well, you are in the right place.
Degenerate, rotten culture we're in get a makeover as they are in their 70s themed event, 70s attire. The makeover, yet again, these Republicans want is just to bring our country back in time. For the next 30 minutes, she launched into a winding pseudo-academic diatribe about the 4 lies of modern feminism, which according to Clark are birth control, abortion, fertility care, and daycare. She has staked her brand in part on spreading misinformation about birth control. It's a regular feature of her podcasts. Count me out on those. Then she finally spoke truth to power. She took on the great American horror of, wait for it, daycare. She described it as her spiciest take, saying that a lot of mothers in the 70s, the decade was the conference's theme, who desired freedom and flexibility or who didn't necessarily have a support system, were oblivious to the fact that the solutions presented to them as safe, liberating, or harmless were anything but. And one of those solutions was daycare. After an awkward pause, she added, "It just got real uncomfy. Did you feel that shift?" "Yeah, cause you lost the room, girl." But like a real feminist, she persisted. Clark claimed the feminist movement is in large part to blame for the fracturing of the traditional home, where women were coerced outside of their natural roles as mothers into the workforce. She went on, the feminist movement gave way to the notion that a woman could have her cake and eat it too. You can have the career you want and you can raise your children in a positive educational environment, AKA daycare. She described it as a lie to tell women we can have it all. But I'm sure everyone wasn't on the same page, right? There was probably someone reasonable in the bunch speaking to this group. Maybe fundamentalist podcaster Allie Stuckey? Fundamentalist podcaster Allie Beth Stuckey opened day 2 of the conference. She struck a notably more pointed Christian extremist tone than the other speakers, though religious rhetoric was ubiquitous throughout the conference. Quote, "I can tell you what your highest calling is," she said. "It's not to have a career. It's not even to be a wife and mom, as wonderful as those things are. Your highest calling is to glorify God." But nobody made the overarching theme of the conference more clear than the founder of TPUSA, the dolphin fetus himself, Charlie Kirk. Take a listen to these pearls of wisdom.
In my personal opinion, you should enter the serious dating pool earlier than not, right? I'm talking 22, 23, 24. This whole idea of putting your career first, I think is a very, very dangerous proposition. It could work out for you, but I hear stories every day. Charlie, I decided to go become a partner at a law firm, and now I'm 32 years old and I can't find anyone because all the good ones are gone. There is some truth to quote unquote the good ones being gone. The window does narrow. And so I think you should prioritize, what do I want most in my life? And if that thing is the best thing that I think a human being can do, which is to get married and have kids, then you should do that with clear intentionality. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it.
Anybody turning to Charlie Kirk to complain about the good ones being gone, hoping that thumb face is gonna have the solution for you, is just far gone. But Ravana, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, as a woman who for too long has been trying to have it all, I think what I really need in my life is Charlie Kirk with his uppercase head and his lowercase face to get on a stage and lecture to me about my life. No, I mean, first of all, if someone is a partner at a law firm by 32, that's an amazing accomplishment. And I promise that woman is not complaining to Charlie Kirk about how she cannot be married. But you know what? Why shouldn't Charlie Kirk speak on women's issues? He's made a career of speaking on things he knows nothing about. I mean, for the love of God, Turning Points USA is an organization that was created to promote conservatism on college campuses. It was founded in the idea that conservative ideas are being suppressed on college campuses. And Charlie Kirk never went to college. So how would he know? How is he an expert at that? I also want to say that shout out to Candace Owens for going on stage at that conference and saying women are responsible for all the ills in society, and that women need to stay at home and be mothers, and that if you're not a mother by 30, that then you've lost your edge, which she wasn't a mother by the age of 30. She didn't have her kids until she was in her mid 30s, which is fine. But apparently, it's fine for her, but not for any of the other women at the conferences. And of course, the irony of all those women standing up there and saying, don't have a career while they all have careers is utterly and completely ridiculous.
Sounds like some of these women are just wanting to reduce competition for themselves.
Right. Exactly.
I think the reason Charlie Kirk is up there saying, listen, ladies, if you don't find a good one by 22, 23, they're all gonna be gone. It's probably because his wife, I'm assuming, walks around the house all day muttering, all the good ones were gone. And just giving him the look like, you son of, but look, these people know nothing about anything. They go up on stage and I swear to God, have a job that I'm not gonna lie, I am totally envious of. Because you don't have to have actual research, you don't have to have facts. You go up on stage, you make up the most ridiculous sounding stuff people have ever heard in their lives, and you make millions of dollars. Like, that sounds like the best job on the planet, and they've got it. So I give them full credit for that. Nothing they say is true. They don't ever have to do research. We have stories and we have to pour through them, and we have to go do extra research just to make sure. These guys, they just make it up. People eat it up. And I will say again, I get jealous of it sometimes, because that seems like the most laid back, easy life on the planet. Because you don't even have to worry about being right. You just say whatever crazy thought pops into your head and you get another $1 million off it. Sounds kind of sweet to me.
It does, and the people themselves who are sitting there in the audience, whose life experience does not match the advice they are being given, still cheer like complete blind sycophants at people who are telling them your existence is wrong, give up the reason you're here. I have a strong feeling that a lot of women who are at a women's leadership conference aren't the same women who are trying to just stay home and take care of the household. They probs trying to get stuff done career-wise in their lives. The entire event is a complete conundrum and a hypocritical endeavor, which of course is what Talking Points USA was built to achieve. So another mission accomplished. Let's land on that hanger again and put the banner up saying, human babies are the same as dolphin fetuses, Charlie. Well done, well done. And on that note, we are going to take a break so we can breathe deep, meditate, find a little Zen moment in our own bodies so we're able to continue. Stick with us, do not go anywhere. The Young Turks will be right back. Welcome back in the members only part of the show here. Justice is coming. Progressives are part of an unstoppable movement, and we truly care about expanding the circle of liberty. Justice is coming. We'll give you the tools to build momentum and push for a progressive future. It's Cenk's book. We're all anxiously anticipating it. So pre-order today at tyt.com/justice. And coming up later today, I will be hosting, along with an amazing panel, Old School. Kick off your week with us at Old School. Join us every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and tyt.com. If you can't make it, don't worry. Become a member at tyt.com/join to access the full episode, both live and on demand, including the bonus episode where we do say very bad words. So keep that in mind. Also, I'd like to read a couple of comments here. Gabby Marita says, so Republicans are basically just a party of trashy insult comics these days, and not particularly funny ones at that. I mean, as a trashy insult comic myself, pretty much, but they're not good ones at least some of us are better at it. Cray Souffle says, indeed, Trump is so toxic. He's struggling to retain legal representation for the classified documents case. If he's unable to secure local counsel's arraignment will be delayed. Maybe this has been his plan all along. And the 8R goddess, the AKA the verbose dragon, says Kerry was talking about some undefined group of 75 million people and said most of them are members of the NRA. The NRA says it has 5 million members. 5 million is not most of 75 million. Excellent point. Although you got to expect people on that side to be able to do math, and I don't think that's their strong suit, even very basic 5 out of 75 type of math. Let's also go to Twitch. East Village Boy says she wants to be Trump's VP so bad, never gonna happen, Carrie. Yeah, probs, you got a lot of competition coming her way. And Agnostic Sister says we'll see how much Kerry backs up the orange toddler when he doesn't pick her as VP. So yeah, and lastly, Trans Vampire Carmilla says putting the fun back in fundamentalist. You're damn right. Someone's got to do it, and by someone's got to do it, I mean, hopefully no one will do it, but they will. So that's where we are. We'll be right back. And we are back. One comment I didn't read during the break, I'd love to read right now just because it's about me and I like it. Jazz Masood says Ben's Trump impression should come with a trigger warning. Too good. I like that. Thank you very much. It's the best one there is. Let's move on to a non-Trump related story if we can. The executive vice president of global communications and brand at Politico had a hilarious meltdown on Twitter after David Sirota, the editor-in-chief of The Lever, called Politico out for publishing a piece that was sponsored by the banking industry about the banking industry. This all started yesterday when Sirota tweeted this. Politico just published a news story amplifying bank lobbyists' demand that regulators allow even more bank mergers. And the piece is literally, quote, presented by the American Bankers Association. He included a screenshot of the piece, which you can see right here. Headline, Bank Merger Vibe Check presented by American Bankers Association. And here's how the paid for piece opens. A top lobbyist for big US banks is hearing more openness from government officials on the topic of mergers for mid-sized lenders in the wake of banking stress earlier this year. But the industry wants more than just talk. Don't you love how this paid piece quotes the incredible fact-based source of a top lobbyist is hearing? An unnamed lobbyist heard with his ears, with his nose to the grindstone, picked up a whiff of something that might be a rumor that would perfectly make no sense to actually save the banking industry, but would be really great for us to be able to gobble up more small banks and make the system more vulnerable. Breaking all logic, but helping us make more money for our big conglomerate banks. The piece also quotes the CEO of the Bank Policy Institute, or BPI, which is an organization that represents banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and many more. The BPI has also spent thousands of dollars supporting corporate-friendly politicians such as Kevin always closes his eyes in orgasmic pleasure the way it ruins the country McCarthy, and Hakeem Jeffries. Here's what Greg Bayer, CEO of the BPI, told Politico. There's been something of a sea change in Washington over the last 2 months. I do think at the highest level and at the highest levels, there's a recognition that mid-sized banks need to be allowed to merge and be acquired potentially by larger banks. Brad Dayspring, the Politico exec, was not very happy with Sirota pointing out the obvious conflicts of interest in the piece, writing, Politico didn't just publish this story. It happened several days ago. Wow, what a great burn. Adding, it's not a news story, it's a newsletter item in a newsletter that chronicles the cross-section of Washington and Wall Street. The item is accurate. It's a thing that happened, which, this may surprise you, the subscribers of that newsletter, wait for it, do so in order to get updates like this. You might not like its substance, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a thing that happened. What's the thing that happened? The dude that heard stuff? I heard there might be talk that maybe more people are into small banks being bought by big banks. He continued, you're an activist, and that's great, do your thing. But don't just totally BS and lie to your own readers and followers. Stop with the faux outrage over a standard sharing of something that happened just to line your own pockets. Sirota responded by changing the wording of his original tweet to accommodate Dayspring's nitpicking, writing, Politico published a news story / newsletter amplifying bank lobbyists' demand for more bank mergers. The news story / newsletter was presented by the American Bankers Association. Now take a look at Politico's executive vice president frantically trying to explain that away. Dayspring quickly gave up trying to defend the substance of the piece and started attacking Sirota's appearance. LOL, you're such a clown. One who apparently got so tired of using Botox and fillers to blur your face that you instead switched to a cartoon, referring to his cartoon avatar. Well played. So that's the story. Ray, thoughts?
I think that, and it happens to me too. Sometimes people will try to insult my appearance by telling me I have Botox and fillers. But as someone who's never had Botox or fillers, that's a compliment, baby. Thanks for telling me I look good. Also, shout out to the letter hack who drew the profile picture that David Sirota uses. He's definitely drawn all of us at this point. Talented artist. Everyone should go check out his work. This breakdown. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the way that the article was labeled. The press release about bank mergers. It says bank merger vibe check. As if if we throw the word vibe in there, maybe it'll appeal to like young people and they'll become interested in this.
Also, you put the word vibe in, it makes it not news.
Right. It's just shameless, and obviously he's very defensive about what's going on, which is why he immediately turns and starts attacking David Sirota's appearance. I mean, if you ever want to not give off the impression that you're defensive, don't get defensive. If you ever want to give off the impression that you stand by what you did, don't start insulting someone's Twitter profile picture. I mean, it's silly, but I mean, David Sirota's doing real work, and this person's trying to deflect by accusing him of having Botox.
Well said. Also, I'm now offended that nobody has ever accused me of having Botox or fillers. They're saying I don't look good, and now it deeply hurts. I thought that was like positive. Now I realize I need to work on my face. Maybe I can plump it up in some natural way. Farron, vibe check. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, like trying to be young and hip. Like, hey kids, is your bank capping? I don't know the lingo. I don't know what I'm doing, why I even said that. But I will say, actually, Ray, I'm a little upset. I was totally waiting to do that. Shout out to the letter hack. And but no, awesome dude. Matt is great. Please, everybody support him. He's amazing. But it's the meme. I mean, this little article thing they put out is the meme. Like, did a bank write this? Yeah, they did. And Politico has been doing this for years and years. They'll put out this propaganda from the fossil fuel industry, and sure, it'll say, this piece is, sponsored by the American Petroleum Institute or whatever climate change denying organization sponsors it that day. And Politico acts like, no, this is what we do. We're totally cool with it because apparently it's a newsletter, which isn't actually news, in spite of the fact that it's called newsletter. Like, did that dude not notice that? Like, it's not news, it's a newsletter, my friend. cool, let's split hairs over what to call it instead of just saying, this is the problem with corporate controlled media. And yes, Politico fits under that banner. And they're more than happy to display that banner, letting everybody know that their stories are bought and paid for by the industry.
Very strong point. And notice it's never stories in their newsletters paid for by like Greta Thunberg or a hungry polar bear. It's always people who are on a questionable side of things. And interestingly, now the piece no longer states it's presented by the American Bankers Association. It's now presented by the Consumer Credit Card Protection Coalition, which is an organization that opposes the Credit Card Competition Act. Wow, against competition yet again. The CCCA would lower credit card swipe fees by mandating more competition in credit processing industry, which is dominated by Visa and MasterCard. For reference, the European Union has capped credit card swipe fees at 0.3%. Visa and MasterCard both had a swipe fee of 2.2% in 2021. According to the Merchants Payments Coalition, swipe fees drove up prices for the average American by at least $900 in 2021. So, of course, let's have Politico taking stories now being sponsored by the people opposing saving Americans money and having reasonable swipe fees. How lovely is that? That's the note we're gonna leave you all on for today. I'm gonna look into what I can do to plump up my face so that I look as unnaturally wonderful as some are being accused of looking. I can't wait. Ray, anything quickly you'd like to plug or mention?
Yeah, I have a new piece coming out in Politico's newsletter called "No Cap Deregulation is Really Chill." Everybody go check out my Rebel HQ videos. I'll be hosting the second hour of the show tomorrow, so make sure you're watching then. Also be filling in for Nina Turner tomorrow as well. So as you're always watching on Boss, just make sure you're checking it out again tomorrow.
Love that, Farron.
YouTube.com/The Ring of Fire and YouTube.com/Farron Balanced. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, get me at Farron Balanced.
I love that. And you can catch me releasing 3 stand-up comedy videos per week at Ben Glebe on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook Reels and YouTube. And you can see me tomorrow on Unbossed with Senator Nina Turner with Ravana. So check that out. And the second hour of today's Young Turks show will be beginning momentarily. Stick with us, hit the join button below if you haven't on YouTube. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again very soon.
The concept of the Young Turks means the audience, they are the Young Turks. They are the go-getters. They are the ones making the emphatic change happen in their local community. The reality is that we've always, young and the not so young, we've always cared about news. But when you do not see the messengers of the news look like you, when they do not share your experiences, exposures, and environment, and there's a disconnect between you and the news. I lecture in mass communications. One thing I tell all of my students, there is no such thing as non-biased news. It never has been. Non-biased news has always been an illusion. Let's go back to the 60s and 70s, where people would say that was the purity of non-biased news. News has a segment. That segment has a time. That time, you must do your story and be finished. That means the producer, the writer, the orator has to take out what they don't think is important and only leave in what they believe is important. They have a limited time to tell the story. They do not have time to tell everybody's version or everybody's side. And they get to choose the facts that they bring to you, as well as the nuance, which really is a word for opinion, that they bring to you, the context they bring to you. So we've always had a level of bias in news. Here's the issue. The issue is to not deceive individuals as if you don't have some level of opinion with your news commentary. And that's what TYT has never done. They've always been authentic in their approach to progressive ideology and their news analysis and political breakdown. And I think that's how you actually win the heart and soul of individuals who are consuming information from you, because now they see themselves in you.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
You don't see a lot of news coverage in the mainstream media of the peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that happened throughout the country.
Black Americans are hurting. Minorities in this country are hurting.
We always talk about starting from the bottom up, but the problem is the bottom up is always the least amount of power. No one cares about them, and until someone actually cares about them, then we'll do something about it.
Please, for God's sake, America, understand, acknowledge, and work towards getting to a new reality where Black lives actually matter.
Welcome everyone to the second hour of the Young Turks Power Panel on a Monday. You guys know I like to say Monday's the best damn day of the week. There's a reason behind that. Look in the middle of your screen there. Adrienne Lawrence joins us. She's host of Overruled and also contributor Rebel HQ. And check it out, Maz Jabrani. What's up, brother? He's also a contributor over at Rebel HQ as well. Check all their stuff out. How you guys doing? It's great. It's Monday.
It is Monday. Lots of things happened this weekend.
Really? What happened? Lots of stuff going on, lots to analyze, lots to break down. But you know what? Let's go ahead and jump right into this first one because we've got presidents getting indicted, we got presidents getting charged, we've got challengers to the president that suddenly have a change of tune, specifically about Supreme Court nominees. Let's check this out.
Now, in terms of the judges that you will bring to bear on this, former President Trump hit 3 home runs with his Supreme Court appointments. Are you going to make the same kind of pledge to the Republicans as you go around the country that your judges will be like the Trump judges?
Well, actually, I would say we'll do better than that. I mean, I respect the 3 appointees he did, but none of those 3 are at the same level of Justices Thomas and Justice Alito. I think they are the gold standard, and so my justices will be along the lines of a Sam Alito and a Clarence Thomas.
Ron DeSantis is running for president, you guys, and if you haven't heard, he's got to find some way to criticize Donald Trump because he's been the minion baby style Trump for his entire national political career. So of course he finds something with these Supreme Court picks. Hey, everybody runs for president eventually points out how they had the best Supreme Court picks ever. So he's gotta find something different than Trump, except this is brand new for Ron DeSantis. He had other things to say about Trump's picks in the past when he was still piggybacking on the back of Donald Trump. Let's listen to this.
And I think that Donald Trump has done a better job appointing judges to both the US Supreme Court and the Appeals Court than any other president in my lifetime, including one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan.
Including one of his heroes, Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump is the best ever. There's nothing he's ever done wrong, at least until you run against him for president and you find something to talk about. Here's what DeSantis said about Neil Gorsuch back in 2017. He says, if you created a nominee from scratch with the goal of filling Scalia's large shoes, such a nominee would look a lot like Neil Gorsuch. That's odd. This is what he said about Amy Coney Barrett. In case you guys didn't remember this, Amy Coney Barrett is also one of Donald Trump's appointees now in the Supreme Court. This is what he said also back in 2020. Donald Trump made an outstanding choice for the US Supreme Court in Judge Amy Coney Barrett, who has had an exemplary legal career and been a terrific judge. She'll apply the law of the Constitution faithfully and serve as an inspiration to millions of our fellow citizens. Crazy. Who is that guy? There's also an interview back in 2018 on Fox Business where he also complimented Brett Kavanaugh's top flight intellect and also his impeccable pedigree. That's what he felt about these nominees, which eventually became justices. But now he's got to find another angle. This is the question, though, you guys. I'll open this up to Adrian. You're our legal analyst off the jump. When it comes to people like this, or at least some of these types of nominees, now justices, is it really worth this revisionist history and say, yeah, what I used to like, I don't like, because in the future, if I get a nominee at all, if I win the presidency, I'll do better? How? What does this work?
Yeah, no, the reality is that no one's really gonna fact check him in real time all the time. And so DeSantis feels completely comfortable and confident saying that Trump was inferior in his choices for who went to SCOTUS, even though at the time he thought that they were just as wonderful and as regal as Reagan's picks. It just really shows you that DeSantis will say what he needs to say in the moment in order to look a little bit more further right than Donald Trump. And that's what he's doing.
Miles, what's your thought?
First of all, I heard him say that. I go, wait a minute, it gets worse than Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh. He's gonna find people even worse. And this is the playbook is this. The playbook is these guys don't want to criticize Trump on the actual bad things he's done. So they take the things that in the minds of the base is considered good, which is in objectively speaking bad. But they take what's considered to be good, and now they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna be even gooder. So he's like, oh, Trump is white, I'm even more white. Or oh, Trump put the kids in cages, I'm gonna ship them to other states, blue states. He's trying to be like, look, I'm all for bigotry and racism and all of the negative fascism and all whatever else Trump was doing, but I'm gonna do it even better. And I guess that's how you appeal to the Republican base nowadays.
Well, he also apparently found a way to have criticisms towards what's going on with these investigations, what they've discovered, these documents, which of course everyone has been talking about, which those could be wide open, but they need to hold on to this base. I was mentioning over the weekend, I wasn't able to go over it on Friday, but every single point, they have to hold on to the MAGA base so they can't anger them too much by calling Donald Trump exactly what it is. They can't come for the direct, even far be it, agenda attacks on things that he had done as president. They have to go for something roundabout that maybe we have to imagine is in the future. Things like this, they could hit him right directly on things that he's going through right now. These investigations, these tapes of him talking about the illegal activities that he's been up to. None of that would actually be very helpful to them because they still need that base. It's a fine line that DeSantis specifically is towing more than everyone else because he's the next one up. And let's keep it real, you guys. It's been a couple years where I've talked about these Republicans, these primary Republicans, the ones who think they could potentially have a seat here as the nominee. They would love for Donald Trump to go away without them having to lift a finger, because then they could pick up those supporters without having to do anything else. And this is one of those transparent attempts at that. What are y'all's last thoughts on this, though?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's all about the optics, and these further right than Trump candidates really want to make it seem like they do support him and that they do think that the DOJ, Merrick Garland's office is attacking Trump unfairly because they don't want to potentially lose out on his base. But at the same time, we know that they're behind closed doors doing the whisper campaigns if they need to, but also egging on prosecutors and whomever else to hold him accountable. And I believe we also seeing this with the weakening of members of his party in terms of those who are, the right wingers, really staunch advocates there in the Freedom Caucus in Congress. I think we're going to start seeing those people be taken down a little bit blow by blow, because that's what it is. It's about undermining the foundation that is Trump and anybody along with him, while benefiting from the structure that is built on top of them, which would be the MAGA crowd.
You guys are both right, and it's like these people can't stand the stink of Trump, just like we can't, but they just can't say it. I wish Dominion voting system would sue all of these people so we can get the real text like we got Tucker Carlson's when we found out that he hates Trump. And I guarantee you, if you got DeSantis's tweets and texts and you got Pence's and you got all their texts, you'd see how much crap they're talking behind his back. And again, I think DeSantis has to play this game. He's like, look, Trump brought you these 3 justices that were Handmaid's Tale. I'm gonna bring you Christian Taliban justices. It's like, let's go even further and further right, because it's almost like I'm gonna compliment him while also criticizing him, versus the obvious, which would be Chris Christie started to do it because maybe he feels like I got no chance of winning anyway, so let me just talk trash. But wouldn't it be fun to just watch them, like one of them just like have a, they can stay conservative as they want to be, but one of them just have this moment to be like, you know what, man? It's 4th and 90, and I'm on the 10-yard line. I gotta go Hail Mary and just go up and be like, Donald Trump almost gave away nuclear secrets, and should be indicted and should be in an orange jumpsuit. And I'm Ron DeSantis and I approve this message. Ain't gonna happen, but
it's so straightforward. It's such a good process. Look, Ron DeSantis is the next one up, polling at whatever 20 or 30%, whatever it is, who knows? I haven't looked at it in a minute, but he's polling at this rate, and then he's the next one up. So if the thoughts and prayers of the Republicans are actually answered, not the ones about school shootings and folks dying, but the thoughts and prayers about hoping he goes away and then have to do anything about it, if those are answered, all you have to do is hit him. Who else are they gonna go to? Nikki Haley? Tim Scott? No, but that would actually boost him to a degree, and I guess there's not enough people who think clearly. There's still the following of Donald Trump that has to be the primary thing. The minions that they are is what they show us. Let's take this first break really fast, you guys. We're gonna go to a few of your comments, but also we'll get back, since we're talking judges, and we're also talking these new revelations surrounding Donald Trump and those documents. There's a familiar face as a judge. So the attachments of Donald Trump's administration with our judicial system continue on, even as he's potentially getting prosecuted here. We'll do that and a lot more when we get back. Hey, you guys, what's going on? The Young Turks, ignore the fact that that's there. I'm in my studio. First off, let's go to a few of y'all's thoughts here. A dip, trip, flip, Fantasia. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember that song? It was like 1993. I like it. Right? See, Maz knows what's up. Perfect handle here. Did JR cut his hair is the question? Yeah, I was asked this question. That's why it took us a couple extra seconds to come back. Yes, I did, in case you guys missed it. There it is. Quick glance, now we're back in it. Hats and hoodies. It's the theme of the watch list. Thank you guys, though. Shadows says, Maz, I love your stand-up, The Birds and the Bees. It was a great watch. Thanks for the laughs.
Appreciate it.
Maz is quite the genius on the stand-up circuit there. Mountain Dragon, Seaman Assassin 420 says, I believe the reason why TYT is so successful and honest, I'm reading this because it's so nice, is because it's put together by people of all different backgrounds, races, sexual preferences, and genders. We all learn from each other and progress together in a way where we uplift each other because of our differences instead of trying to run away from and change the change in diversity. We truly love each other and help each other. All the love from the mountains and keep up the peaceful fight. Which mountains are you from there, Mountain Dragon? I'm curious. We'll find out eventually. I've seen you on our show as well. Tex Stan says, I never bought into JR's quote, Monday is the best day, BS. This is aggressive, so kind. Until both of today's main show panels, I'm reconsidering. It should be known, Tex Stan. I've been convincing folks, Burbank comes on every Monday on the watch list. We've been convincing folks for about a year now. I think we're changing hearts and we're changing minds. Monday is like Saturday, bro. Try and roll with me on that. Twitch subs, you guys. D Cashmere, Monday Power Panel number 2. Super impressed by the talent TYT is bringing. Thank you very much, D Cashmere. Also, Suspicious Dragon 92 says, you can hear how disingenuous he is in his voice. He's literally just reading the right wing script these voters want to hear. They don't even believe the things that they say themselves. Also, lastly, as we jump back into the show, Sassy Snicks says, every time I'm on mute at a video meeting, I think I JR'd myself. Yo, guys, it's been a minute since I've been on the main show, and I come with all this aggression's coming my way. We'll see if we can clean that up in a second. Back on the Young Turks, you guys. Hi, it's been only a couple seconds. I'm glad you still hung in. We still got Maj Brown, and we've also got Adrian Lawrence for a little bit of political breakdown. More judge talk, let's go here. Donald Trump is looking at 37 counts, federal counts on this indictment brought by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith for all those documents that he lied about keeping forever. 31 of those charges claim that Trump willfully kept those classified documents in his possession after leaving the White House, the vast majority of those. But all this damning evidence also brings some familiar names and faces as far as the people that are gonna be judging this case. Let's take a look at here.
Judge Aileen Cannon, and if that name sounds familiar to you, it is because this is not the first time she has been involved in this case. It was Judge Cannon who earlier in the classified documents investigation appointed a special master to review the thousands of documents seized from Mar-a-Lago, stalling the government's investigation. A higher court later overruled her. And it will be Judge Cannon who oversees Trump's arraignment next Tuesday afternoon and determines whether to set a trial date before the 2024 election.
Looks like more control for Aileen Cannon, who was a part of the first part of this process of Donald Trump and his stolen documents and then lying about it case. She's somehow been appointed yet again. New York Times did point this out specifically, that again, Trump appointed judge. So, I mean, we know the way Donald Trump thinks. He's criticized judges appointed by other presidents for being beholden to them. I think that gives us a glimpse of what he thinks judges should do for the people that appoint them. Enter then Miss Cannon. So how did this whole thing even go down? Because it's odd that this name just keeps coming up that didn't get much play before. New cases are also randomly assigned among these judges in the district. Also, the chances that Judge Cannon would randomly receive this assignment were very low. Who's part of this whole thing, I'm not really sure, but there are also 15 active federal district court judges in South Florida, along with 11 on senior status. So again, Adrian, I hate to keep putting you on the spot like this, but this is what I like to do, because I don't understand these things all the time. How does this really work where then Aileen Cannon could be on this again after then other circuit judges or higher ups already pushed back on the way that she approached the first realms of this investigation?
All right, so generally when cases get assigned, there is some randomness, there's kind of not, depending on what the chief judge of the court chooses to do. And some of them may to some extent auto-populate in the system. Got that, the thought that there is some randomness there. But the thing is that there is complete and total problematicness going on here, because we know Aileen Cannon just essentially ignored all the canons of law and precedent when she had ruled in Trump's case before, when she appointed the special master. And when she wrote opinions that the 11th Circuit had to go and reverse. And the thing is that right now, she seems to be the one who is going to oversee this case, but what we really need is the 11th Circuit to step in and step up, because there is precedent out there that says that they can take the case away from her and move it to someone else. But they are a very conservative court. They did hand her ass before, twice before, so they may be willing to do it again. But again, they are very conservative. But the reality is that if Trump isn't really the one that the right wants, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of things get done behind closed doors that need to be done, and I'll allow it because, hey, the fact is, if we're gonna have this kind of seminal watershed kind of moment with the prosecution of a former president, it needs to be done by the book and it needs to be done right, because the justice system is already thought to be one that is of inequity and unfairness. And so for any kind of faith in the judiciary, which is right now hanging by a thread, largely because of SCOTUS, we really need that for the United States, for it to be whole, it to be clean, and for it to be indisputable.
Maz, do Dems come off looking like we're conspiracy theorists with this? No, I mean,
listen, I like Adrian's take on that. That it's like this is the back room, the little hit that they put on Trump. They're like, we're gonna get an insider to take him down, and then hey, now we got DeSantis rising. I like that. That's an interesting take. It's just, first of all, I can't hear her name without thinking, come on, Aileen. Oh, I swear by all means, I will do anything. So it's gonna be distracting regardless. The only other way it could have been worse if her name were Sudio. Could you imagine Judge Sudio? Listen, I'm not a legal expert, I'm a comedian, so don't judge my analysis. But I will say it is weird that she came up again as the person who is now in charge of this. And I think that someone will have to recuse her somehow, I think. I'm not quite sure. I'm sorry, real quickly, just reading the indictment though, I can't, like, when you got Bill Barr on the news saying the dude is guilty, it's like, and if you've read I'm sure you guys have read the indictment, he was waving papers around going, hey, this is top secret. And he goes, but stand over there, you're not supposed to see it. I mean, the guy's a bozo, so.
I would say the power that Aileen Cannon really has, because again, 11th Circuit handed her ass before, and I'm sure DOJ is going to seek interlocutory, as in appeals that could happen in the middle of a case running. But I would really think that a lot of power she'd have is during the voir dire process when they're choosing the jury, because that's what Trump is holding out on. Because the thought is that you have so much evidence against you, how are you really gonna win this? You're gonna win this by way of the jurors not applying the law to the facts, jury nullification, of them saying, no, we don't wanna go ahead and apply the law to the facts and do what's right. And so what you would need is a few like loose cannons in that jury pool. And so she can kind of help with that process by refusing to allow a juror to be struck, or keeping someone on a panel who she knows is going to be problematic when it comes to actually applying the law to the facts.
Loose cannon, Adrian. Listen, Maz is here for the puns. You're here for the judge analysis. We can't screw this up. I'm getting confused. But your point about potentially changes here maybe could be a slim chance for that as well. Because look, people talking about the permanent level of this. Actually, let's go to this the graphic here from Twitter account from Joyce Aileen. She said, with the unsealing of this indictment, it's now clear that this is a permanent assignment. Well, for now. Of course, as she says, there's the big stamp here on this document that she posted, put on subsequent pleadings or other cases that you can tell who the judge is by the initials following the case number at the top left there. And it's AMC, Aileen Cannon. So she apparently is on it for now, and we're gonna figure out the next steps of it. Also, Hugo Lowell tweeted this out, new from the New York Times as well. The chief clerk for the Southern District of Florida, Angela Noble, confirmed that no court practice would return the case to be assigned to another judge. So in short, Judge Aileen Cannon's assignment is permanent unless she were to step aside. And where's that pressure gonna come from? Who knows?
Well, you know, if to Adrian's point, if she manipulates the jury, if we see the pillow guy in the jury, then we know something's up.
We'll definitely hear him from the jury stand yelling about buy my slip. Was he have slippers, sheets now? 1,000 count. I don't know what the good count is. Something.
He's got a lot of problems. That's what he's got.
99 million problems. Okay, let's jump to this next story. Another case of police brutality, maybe overextending their aggression towards a bit of a serious situation here. 14-year-old boy in Aurora, Colorado, named Jordell Richardson. He was fatally shot by police at the beginning of the month on June 1st. That's while he was allegedly fleeing a scene from a convenience store robbery. Now, the police officers did catch up with him, and they released this body cam footage of what is that went down. Because as we know, many times we'll hear from the cops, we won't necessarily know what it is that happened. So maybe this will clear things up. But before we get to that video though, let's go through a few of the points here that stuck out here. So according to the Aurora Police Department, Jordell threatened the store clerk in what looked like a firearm as they were stealing things, vape canisters from this one particular convenience store as a group of kids. He was 14 again. And clips of the body cam footage show Officer Gruzeska and Officer James Snap approaching, and that prompted the group to flee. Some of them also escaped in a vehicle previously reported stolen, while others tried to make a run for it. Richardson was the one that tried to run. Officer Gruzeska tells his partner, they just shoplifted out of here. I'm gonna light them up. That could mean shooting, that could be turning on your flashes. We've heard it before, but as you can see what we're gonna see in a second, it was the first. 2 officers shot Richardson wearing a white hoodie and a medical mask outside of the store. He runs from the officers and they chase him into a nearby alleyway where they tackle and shoot him within a matter of seconds. And as the other officer catches up to him, is a bit of a physical altercation with Jordell, and the teen's hand was, as they say, quote, in the vicinity of his waistband. That's according to the police chief as well. And as he's on the ground, again, we're gonna watch this in a second. As he's on the ground, Jordell can be heard saying, stop, please. There's a very important part about this. Stop, please, you got me. And as Gruzeska can be heard yelling, gun, gun, let go of the effing gun. I'm gonna shoot your ass. Dude, I'm gonna shoot you. Then seconds later, that single gunshot can be heard. So of course, the family also wanted the sections of this video blurred because of the graphic nature. So be warned about that as we watch.
Get on the ground, you idiot! No! Here, grab me! Grab me! Bro! I'm sorry! I'm done! Oh, help me take you to the hospital! Please! Do you have the gun? Get it! You have the gun! Get it! I can't breathe out! Get off me! Grab me! Here, get off! Help! Please! You take me to the hospital?
Get off the radio. Shots fired just east behind the restaurant. Give me medical fast. Cops code 4, suspect shot in the stomach. Stay with me, man. Hold on, okay? Let's cuff him.
They made me do it.
Huh?
I don't know where they made me do it.
Okay.
Really hard video to watch there. As of course later on, Jordell then passed away at the hospital. But also, if you couldn't hear from a point after he was shot, there was one line where he said, "They made me do it." Quote, "They made me do it. I don't know who they were, but they made me do it." The officers attempted to save his life with some life-saving measures afterwards. Obviously, that failed. And also that weapon at his waistband that appeared to be a gun turned out to be a pellet gun made to look like a real handgun. And I don't know who the they was or the maid, but that was some of the last things that he was mentioning to the cops. There's more on this though, you guys, with the Aurora Police Department and the way they've responded. But your thoughts about this tragic looking story here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll just say I have a 14-year-old boy, and it was really hard to watch that, and it's just tragic. I mean, the fact that I've always been someone. I've never been a proponent of guns, and I've always been about we need gun control and all that. And I know that was a pellet gun. But it's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking because again, also from the police side, I've never been a cop, but I mean, you see the action that's happening. I have no idea how long they have to make that decision, and I know that hopefully cops get trained in de-escalating situations, but it's just heartbreaking. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It always seems like it's shoot first, ask questions later. And that's very much what our law enforcement here in the United States practices. And unfortunately, it often practices that certain lives are worth less than others. And it's often the time that it's a Black person on the receiving end of a bullet. And it's tiring and it's exhausting. And also the presumed criminality that gets attached to your very existence. I hate to feel like I am becoming jaded, but it just feels like this is standard operating procedure all the time.
It always seems to be what it is that we see, but then also we'll get there's voices that'll say, don't do the crime, you can't do the time. That's the line. It's not about getting shot on the spot, it's about doing the time. And also I'm sure they couldn't tell the kid's 14 years old, they can take a shot of what Jordell used to, an old photo of him. Who Jordell was, but also the investigative part of once you already caught up with him. Maybe there's many times you could have assumed he's reaching for his waistband. And again, it's the heat of the moment, it's all fast. I'm sure many people are talking about, but let's go back to the original process here. It was over some vapes. We did a story before of a guy at Walmart. He had his receipt and they tackled him on the ground over a frozen pizza, which he did actually pay for, assaulted him in that manner. A lot of times, if we assess what it is that they're trying to stop from happening, you can maybe understand where even if the fearful nature of maybe someone that's a police officer and working at the time, you don't want to be in that situation either. And then if you go and tackle someone, I'm not sure how they believe someone can pull something out of their waistband and get an active shot at them if they're already laying on top of them. I don't know what kind of training is a part of pinning someone down, tackling and all that. And again, I get the fear factor of this and not sure if you're gonna make it out of this particular altercation alive. I understand all of that. There's a level and portion of society that needs to understand there's some things that we can assess differently. And this is probably gonna go to the lines of he was pulling off a crime, whoever made him do it, if we believe what he said, it's still a crime. And now we've had this devastated family, which I wanna read his mother's quote talking about what it is that she did. She addressed the crowd at the Aurora Municipal Building and said this. She said, to know that the police didn't even try to think twice, that he was a child, he's human, people make mistakes. They didn't give him a chance to redeem himself. So that'll be the story that she has to continue to live over and over again for the rest of her life as well. Also, by the way, the Aurora Police Department is under a consent decree to improve their practices because after several reports released the past few years showed that they have a pattern of particular biased policing and profiling. We see that all times as well. Police are an extension of society. Things that many of us believe about certain members of society from whatever realm we believe it in, these guys just put on a badge, clock in, put the gun in the holster, and they don't release those thought processes just because they go and jump in the squad car. It's a societal problem as well. Let's take this next break though, you guys, right? Let's do it, Ash. Let's take the next break. A few of your thoughts probably on this. I'm actually curious of people thinking about this as well, but also when we get back after those comments, if you're headed down to Disney World down in Florida, you might want to beware of the Nazis that show up. No, they're not new mascots. They're the Nazis. And they've got a very specific picture and banner with them as well. You might not be surprised by it, but still, we're gonna talk about it when we get back. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it took me a minute. Okay, sorry. You guys are already on my back. Let's see what you guys have to say. Hopefully kind things. Oh, look at this. The throat goat dragon says, JR is one of the most handsome men in America. He doesn't need to know how to use the mute button, guys. Correct. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna mute myself right now. The Camp Corona dad says, given that some of the most sensitive documents are still unaccounted for, by the way, with Donald Trump, the prosecution could argue that Trump could still cause harm to national security by sharing them, and therefore he should be held without bond. That would be beautiful. It's Donald Trump. He's got clout. Okay, Jazz Maven, the kinda blue dragon, says, gotta love Miss Adrian, always so astute and always so elegant. The love is spreading. Let's see if we can find something about Maz here, brother.
I'm not jealous. She's beautiful. What do you want? You don't have much to work with here.
Let's see. Worst case scenario dragon. Sorry, not yet, Maz. Almost. Hate to sound horrible, but I don't think tapes like that, we're talking about the 14-year-old that was shot by Aurora cops, that should be blurred. People need to see just how horrible the things these cops do are. I'll still side with not seeing them getting shot. I understand the thought process, but I don't need it, which I would skip over if it wasn't. Twitch subs, you guys. How much time we got? Killa says, I really don't care that she's the one that pushed this master to review the documents. She should not be presiding over this while being appointed by Trump. You know, if it was the other way around and Biden appointed someone that's overseeing his investigation, right-wingers would go crazy. The hypocrisy is always the main source of these entire arguments, you guys. Just keep it real. Still G says, these are Twitch, of course, by you guys as well. In no country with an actual rule of law should this woman be allowed anywhere near this case. We know how awfully biased she is. She has an outcome she's trying to achieve. Donald Trump is probably betting on that as well. See you in a second. Explicit dragons out there. Adrian's making fun of me now. You know what? All folks can show up and say nice things. Just not anymore. Okay, guys, let's go to this next story. We're running out of time. Down near Disney World, right in front, as a matter of fact, this was the scene. Yes, that's Walt Disney World down in Florida. And what you see out there is about a dozen or so, maybe a few more Nazis standing outside, waving their flags, saying disgusting things as they do. Because Walt Disney World, why not there too? One Nazi, as you guys maybe have seen as the car sped past, had a poster with Ron DeSantis' face on it. Maybe he hates Ron DeSantis, or maybe they're happy that that's their governor. It's a little bit blurry, but as you can see, there's Ron DeSantis in the middle of their poster with, again, this is what I noticed earlier when I saw this, you guys. Before we go to the next image, there's also, it looks like a square, which could be, a rectangle, which could be a flag that usually is red around the edges, and there's a white circle in the middle. But there's something else usually in the middle of that circle instead of Ron DeSantis' face. Let's run the video again and I can show you guys what it is that I noticed. Just a quick video off the top again, let's see it. It's okay, bring it back. See those Nazi flags? They're all red with a white circle and that Nazi symbol in the middle. They just replaced the swastika with Ron DeSantis' face. I'm not sure if that's a bad thing to them or a good thing. Either way, it seems to be something they think is interchangeable. There's also others that flags that read white pride worldwide and also destroy all pedophiles. They're hanging out over an overpass down there as well. There's that image because this is new. This is something else that they like to do on their weekends, or maybe it's their weekdays too. Who knows? Do they have jobs? I don't know. According to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Nazis gathered for about 2 hours, then they left. There was no arrests made. And also, Florida House member Anna Eskamani said in response to this incident, this may be the 10th time this year alone. It's absolutely disgusting to see what has become a common presence of Nazis in Florida. And even more disturbing when they're holding signs and flags that signal support for people like Governor DeSantis. Every person, regardless of political ideology, should condemn this. Florida is a state built on diversity. We will always stand against bigotry and hate. Sometimes it looks like an uphill battle that folks like Representative Eskamani are working on. And we see more and more of this just becoming commonplace. It's a bit of a problem. But also, pop singer Pink also took note of this. And this was her reaction, pretty straightforward. I think it encompasses most people's thoughts. Are you effing kidding me? She says, as she notices happening as well. And also, I'm sure many of you guys have wondered, is Ron DeSantis responding to this, going, yes, I'm all down, or no, this is a problem for me? Because he's had to answer these questions before, and he likes to dodge it. You won't be surprised to hear that he said nothing about this because Nazis, you mean my support base? Still, one more. Here's what one person said to Representative Eskamani, who posted a video of this incident as well, as she was talking about how horrible it was. He said, more likely those are your campaign staff engaging in false flag operation than actual Nazis. But either way, protected as free speech under our Bill of Rights. Learn the law, Representative. Sounds like you're okay with that, bro. And also one more, you guys can imagine this is the process they went with. Notice, everyone's wearing a mask, just like Antifa, feds, and the vaccinated, because that's a very convincing argument too. The whole point is to point out we're okay with it, you guys. That's the point. Anybody who talks about it and tries to find some other way to deflect from this, it's good job. I wish we had more of this going on. What are your thoughts?
You know, when I think the Southern Poverty Law Center, they had tracked almost 90 hate groups being positioned there in Florida last year. And the thing is that this isn't really shocking. I think we all know that there are areas of Florida people should not go in if they want to remain safe. And I'm sure they still have some sundown towns operating there just fine. It's a matter of the fact that they were out in the open operating in front of Disneyland. And they do have a right to be there as long as they're not violent or causing any problems in particular. But the bigger message there, the thought that, hey, we are not going to be hiding. We are going to be out in the open, and also we're uplifting DeSantis. And you're absolutely right, DeSantis is not going to condemn them in any way because that is his base. And he wants those hate mongers to be supporting him when it comes to the time of the election. And the thing is, there are so many more of them than we think. Just because some of them wear masks doesn't mean that there are people out there who we see and interact with every day who do not still subscribe to the exact same ideologies, this thought that white supremacy should reign.
Well said, I agree 100%. First of all, I want to do a shout out to Representative Anna Eskamani. She's a fellow Iranian American. She's killing it down there. I'm proud of her. Absolutely. Secondly, it's crazy this little approach they always take. It was the same thing with January 6th. They first go, it's just Antifa pretending to be us. And then they go, it's the deep state, it's the FBI pretending to be us. And then they go, oh, it is us, but you're persecuting us by trying to attack us. And it's our freedom to say this. We are free to go and so it's just, they just keep moving the goalpost until their racism is shown. And then even online, they're sitting there going like, well, it's their right to be Nazis. You know, the truth is you do have a right to be a Nazi. I'm not sure I'd be proud of it. And it's confusing to me because Nazis hated Jews, then they hated black people, and now they don't like Mickey, which is, I never saw that coming. I just didn't see it coming. It's a weird.
You see Mickey? He's predominantly black.
There you have it. That explains it all. That explains everything. And then the other thing that is really always very, very rich is these guys who are always going like, we're saving the children, we're going after the pedophiles, and then inevitably we find pictures of children on their computers, and it's like it's really so predictable and it's so crazy. But you guys are right. I think that ever since, probably before Trump, but Trump has really given these people permission to come out and be openly racist, and DeSantis is just, another level of that.
As you said, Ron DeSantis needs to more Trump than Trump is the approach here. Let's wrap up this hour, you guys, with one more. Let's jump down to the J block. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier on the watch list. It's Pride Month, and you know what? Some people are having a change of heart, but only because it directly deals with them and their family. Let's check this out.
I'm a Republican, a Christian, and as anti-woke as you can get. No offense to the Democrats on the committee. My son is also a Christian. I have watched my son transform over the past 11 years into the son and man any father would be proud to have. I watched the debate about transgender people and attempts to ban gender-affirming care, and to be candid, I'm appalled. I see it breaking into this left-right thing, and it's really not.
That's Ohio Republican Rick Colby. He's got a trans son. Suddenly he understands something that he didn't understand before. I want to repeat what he said at the beginning there. He says he's a Republican, he's a Christian. He's also, no offense to the Democrats across the aisle, he's as anti-woke as it gets. But he's had an awakening. Weird how that works. It's like they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I'm supposed to give this guy a little bit of grace here. Here's more from his speech and talking about how he's now against some of this legislation that his fellow Republicans are pushing would be against folks like his son. Listen more.
There are Republicans, there are Christians who have transgender children. The people wanting to ban gender-affirming care have no idea what it is like to be transgender or to have a transgender child. This is not something that's done on a whim. It's a deep-rooted dysphoria that, yes, even has spiritual elements to it. My son has a masculine soul, and he said he's felt this way since he was 5. He tried so hard to overcompensate and try to fit into being a feminine young woman by participating in beauty pageants. For years, he tried to be a young woman, and it didn't ease the ache and sadness in his soul. And it was only until he was able to transition to be a young man did the light in his eyes return. You've got to go easy on this. This is a terrible bill. This is not the simple issue being portrayed by the anti-trans people.
This is not the simple address about the anti-trans people. What is this bill that he's suddenly against? Because he's recognized his son. Representative Gary Click, and who's a Baptist pastor, and also Jenna Powell are spearheading these 2 key bills at the State House this year. Click's bill, which is Saving Adolescents from Experimentation Act, would outlaw gender-affirming surgeries and puberty-blocking drugs for trans minors under 18 years old. Also separately, Powell is trying to prohibit trans athletes from competing in high school and collegiate women's sports, all 6 of them. There's actually specific numbers to that, which we'll get to in a second. But first, you guys, this change of heart, maybe I'm a little too harsh on the guy. I like for people to have an awakening. I'd like for them to figure things out. Maybe we have one more person who understands that these are human beings, even if it takes his own son to teach him that. I just wonder if it's gonna extend to someone else's son.
Yeah, you would like to think that people have some empathy and can put themselves in other people's shoes, whether or not it directly impacts them or not, but I guess that's just too much to ask for. The thing also that I think is too much to ask for, oftentimes it seems with these lawmakers and just people in general, it seems kind of logical that there would be trans people, without a doubt. We all as organisms start as female, and then at some point we may become male. So if someone's maybe their mindset or maybe their DNA and their body and whatnot doesn't always go the direction or stops at one point, the other thing goes, it just seems to make sense to me. And we have intersex people for that reason, because it's all about the baking time and how you get baked. So I don't understand how people are thinking that there's something wrong with trans people when really it just shows you the beautiful diversity that is the human body and the human mind and the spirit.
Yeah, and it's such a, I mean, if you percentage wise, if you look at like, transgender people in America, it's such a small portion of the population, and yet they've made it this big thing that they're taking over and they're gonna make our kids all transgender. First of all, this reminds me a little bit of the Dick Cheney situation where his daughter is, I believe, LGBTQ, and it's like, oh, I still don't reconcile how you become you're right wing and you have an LGBTQ child. And I would hope that this gentleman who's open-minded now about his own transgender child, that he opens his mind about other groups that are being marginalized and being attacked. And a lot of people nowadays are saying, oh, they're teaching it in schools, and they're teaching our kids to be gay and transgender and all. And my response, if you're really concerned about your kids, being somehow groomed, you should want them to teach them in the schools, because if there's one thing we know about American kids, they hate learning. So, we're like 90th in math out of like 80 countries. Your kid's gonna come home and be like, I was gonna be gay, but I had to learn about it. Forget, I'm not gonna be gay. So, all of that to say, I'm happy this guy has had his eyes open, and I don't get why these people are so riled up. I mean, I do get it. It's the shiny object. It's the culture wars, and it's how they get away from actually having any real solutions to any real problems. They create these other problems that don't even exist.
And maybe because his son is an acceptable appearance to him. Again, I'm just digging into what it could be. But look, there's visually the problems that people have. I talked earlier about Charlie Kirk, TPUSA Young Women's Leadership Summit over the weekend, and how he was going after LGBTQ plus folks in America. And it was gross, and he's crazy, these disgusting. It's all these types of terms about how weird and odd they feel people are. And that's where their hate generates from, because they're godly. Because that's what they'll say in their very next sentence of how godly they are. But then this person weirds me out. So many people have to try and find a way to look the role so that people can accept them. And look how sad that is. Many folks, many conservatives, many people that are elected officials have family members that are gay, lesbian, bi, trans, anything. And what they do is many times they're kicked out of the house. So there's plenty of people who know about it. They just still don't decide to wake up to the reality that is their lives, or they put them through some kind of torture that they need to be converted from. Again, where does it all start? I like that you mentioned that, Adrian, because I guess if everyone started out straight and then got taught to be gay, I'm not sure how you missed it, because you're paying a lot of attention to gay folks. How come it hasn't permeated and gotten into you yet? Because that's all they think about. Maybe it has. Still though, really fast, Maz, I'm glad you pointed out the small number of trans folks in the country, because specifically about students, out of about 400,000 student athletes, the Ohio Athletic School Athletic Association recorded 15 trans female athletes competing in middle and high school sports over the past 8 years. 15, but that's gotten 430 bills that's limiting their life.
And I believe there's the trans people are about 1.6% of our population. So again.
Well, it's easier to go after them, because when you have a small group, you go, let's go get them, and you get all these, numbnuts joining you.
And the thing is, they figure there's not enough people that are looking to defend them because there's only so many there. It's weird how the minority folks in the country always being the ones attacked. That's it for this hour, you guys. We do have the bonus episode coming up. If you guys want to be members and check that out, go ahead and go to tyt.com/join. We got more stories talking about it in that back end. And then, yes, the three of us are going to hang around here. No, I'm not reading any more of your comments. Disgusting. We'll see you guys, members, in a second.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him